Most founders know their revenue, but almost none of them know their actual revenue per employee. And the second number is the one that tells the truth, because two companies can both do $10 million a year. One prints cash while the other feels like it's dying every single week. They both have the same revenue, but they have a completely different machine within them. One has leverage, the other has labor disguised as growth. One runs on systems, the other runs on people compensating for systems that were never built. The difference is not motivation, it's not their sales department, it's not another piece of software, it is their operations. Revenue per employee is simple. Take the revenue that you currently have, divide it by the amount of people it takes to produce that revenue, and the math is not the point. What the number exposes is the point. It's an X-ray. It shows you where the business is leaking, where the founder is trapped, and where you are paying humans to do work that systems should do. So stop asking people to hire more people within your organization and start asking where your machine is broken. Every business runs on two machines. I don't care if you're on planet Earth or you're sitting up there on Mars. Every business has a front end and a back end. The front end creates what? Revenue. This is your attention, your offers, your funnel, your sales, and your conversion. It's what the market actually sees. And it's what most founders are completely obsessed with. More leads, more ads, more closers. And I will say this, you do need a strong front end to be successful in business, because without demand and conversion, the business completely starves itself. But the front end only creates revenue. It does not create profit. It does not create clean delivery. It doesn't create cash flow. That is all the back end's job. The back end is fulfillment, cash, and control. It's where the promise gets kept or broken, where sales becomes delivery, where revenue becomes cash, and where chaos becomes process, or where process should have existed and actually didn't. Here's the equation the entire company runs on. Demand and conversion, build your revenue. Fulfillment, cash, and control, build your profit. And it multiplies. If any one of them is near zero, the entire business collapses. You cannot outmarket a broken back end, which means the sale is not the finish line. The sale is the moment the back end gets tested. After the customer pays, the machine has to prove it can onboard, collect, deliver, and protect margin again and again without the founder holding it together. That is operations. Now, the most dangerous moment in a business is when the front end starts working before the back end is ready for it to work. The ads hit, the funnel converts like crazy, revenue climbs through the roof, and everyone in the company starts to celebrate. But then, guess what happens? The back end, it cracks. Onboarding goes inconsistent, sales promises one thing, fulfillment heard another, the founder gets pulled into delivery, and margins thin out. And the company is making more money while feeling worse than it did before. That is not a revenue problem. That is an operating system problem. Most founders think growth will fix the chaos, but when the back end is broken, growth multiplies the chaos, because more sales mean more broken handoff, more clients, more delivery pressure, more headcount equals more drag, and bad operations turn growth into punishment for the founder, because growth exposes whatever is weak. If fulfillment is weak, growth exposes it. If cash is weak, growth exposes it. If the founder is the glue, growth is going to expose that as well, and the founder's instinct is always the same. Something breaks, let's hire someone. But if the system is broken, every new person just enters the same broken system. Now you don't have less chaos, you have more people inside of the chaos. And I have watched this happen 100 times. One of my private consulting clients has been with me for about 5 years now. We've built a hell of a business together. He's sharp, he does whatever it takes to win, he's got great instincts, but early on, all he could see was more. His entire focus was more leads, more revenue, and more top line. Every ounce of his attention was on the front end of his business, which is the most common pattern I see across founders that are at 7 figures in revenue. I told him what was coming, but he didn't want to hear it. He had to learn it himself, so he scaled. We went from 7 figures to 8 figures, and his margins went from 40% to 12%. Because here's what nobody tells you about scaling revenue. Every deficiency in the company scales with it. More volume, more cost of goods, more people, more every week pointed at a thing that you never fixed. The front end grew, the back end couldn't carry it, and the cash got tight. That's usually when the phone rings. He didn't need me to tell him what happened. The margin in his business already had. So the question that everyone asks is, where does profit die in a company? Well, what I can tell you is it rarely dies in the obvious place. It leaks, and it does it quietly, and it does it every day. And there's typically 5 leaks that every operator hunts for first. The first one is called admin waste. It's the manual copying, the chasing updates, the reports built by hand, and the same questions every single week. Did sales tell fulfillment? Did finance collect? And who owns this? The problem with it is it looks like work because your calendars are full. Slack is moving around, but busy does not equal productive. And productivity does not mean you are profitable. When the team spends its time moving information around and you need more people just to run the business, not to grow it, that kills revenue per employee. The second is broken handoffs. Most companies don't have a people problem. Every time work moves from marketing to sales, sales to fulfillment, fulfillment to finance, context gets lost. Deadlines slip and the clients can feel it. Amateurs tell people to communicate better. Operators design the handoff so the right information hits the right owner at the right time and the next move happens automatically. The third is something called rework, doing the same work twice because it wasn't clear, complete, or approved the first time. A vague sales promise, an incomplete brief, a deliverable with no standard. The client doesn't pay you extra because your process was messy, so every redo quietly assassinates your margin in the process. That is why something called standards exist. Without them, every project becomes a custom emergency. The fourth is founder dependency. The founder approves everything in the business. He remembers everything, and he knows the real status of every client. And because the founder knows everything, the business never has to become intelligent. The founder becomes the operating system, which means the company can't move faster than one person can think, decide, and rescue. That is not a company. That is a personality with payroll. The fifth is something called tool sprawl. The company keeps buying software because it never builds a system. They have Slack, then they add a CRM, then a project management tool, and a dozen automations that no one can trust. And it feels like progress because money is moving. But tools are not systems. Software is not a strategy. A dashboard is not in control if the data underneath it is wrong. Badly designed software doesn't remove chaos in a company. It just moves the chaos faster. That is why the operator never starts with a tool. The operator starts with a machine. And that means defining the process, the standard, the owner, and the software gets built around that. There is no other way around that. Those 5 leaks all trace back to the same root, a back end that was never fully built. It stands on 3 pillars typically. You have strong in revenue, that becomes profit. You have weak in revenue, and that becomes pressure. Because revenue likes to hide things. It hides thin margins, it hides refund risk, and it hides the fact that you're only profitable because the founder is working for free. That's why you'll see founders bragging about top line while privately they're exhausted, overstaffed, and terrified of what happens if they stop pushing for a single week. That is not freedom. That's a founder trapped inside a company that only works because he never stops saving it. The back end is what changes that. Fulfillment is keeping the promise. Marketing makes. Sales converts it, fulfillment keeps it. It's easy to say things in marketing and then the truth shows up after the client pays. The real question is can you deliver consistently, profitably, and without the founder stepping in every time? Because scalable fulfillment means the machine repeats the promise with quality, speed, and margin included. This doesn't include the founder being a hero. Cash is protecting the money, and revenue is not cash. Plenty of businesses sell well and collect slowly. They deliver before payment is secure, and they have no idea which offers are more profitable, which clients are draining margin, or what it actually costs them to fulfill in real time. They don't know how much cash is trapped in delay. And you can grow yourself straight into a cash crisis if you're not careful. You can have book sales, but no usable money, because revenue is a vanity until cash is controlled. Control is visibility, not micromanagement, not chasing everyone for updates all day. Real control means leadership can see the numbers, see where work is stuck, and see who owns the outcome without having to ask. In a weak business, the founder has to ask what's going on. In a strong business, the system shows the truth without the ask. And operators don't run companies on vibes. They run them on visibility, because what you can't see, you can't manage. And what you can't manage, you can't scale. Now, before you go in and try to build your back end, you need to run an actual diagnostic on it. And you need to score your business 1 to 10 on each layer of it. And you need to be honest in the process. Actually score what's happening, not what you hope is true. So look at your demand. Are you generating qualified attention? Or are you just generating vanity impressions? Then move to conversion. Are you turning that attention into closed revenue? And then move on to fulfillment. Can you deliver the promise repeatedly without the founder having to jump in? Then ask yourself about cash. Do you know your offer level and the client's level profitability throughout? And then last, you ask about control. Can leadership see the business without having to ask? And then ask yourself the hardest question. What is your founder freedom? Can the company run without you being the glue? Can you leave for 4 weeks and profit not go to hell? Because your lowest score, that is your ceiling. That is the layer suppressing your revenue per employee. Not the one that you're proud of, but the one that you avoid every single day. And the pattern here tells you exactly what to do. If demand and conversion are strong, but the back end is weak, growth is gonna hurt. That's the classic front end heavy business that looks great from the outside, but has completely chaos on the inside of it. If the back end is strong, but demand is weak, the machine is underdefined. And if everything is weak, you don't need one more tactic. You need a complete rebuild. And here's the question that settles it. If you doubled your revenue in the next 90 days, what would break? Would it be onboarding, cash collected, the team, you? And if something breaks, for most companies, it always does, you're not ready to scale. You're ready to redesign before that scale. Because revenue poured into a broken machine, it's not gonna buy you freedom. It's gonna build you a bigger cage. So the next question is how do you fix the damn back end? Well, there's a sequence to it. And most founders run this entire process completely backwards. They automate before they define their process. They hire before they assign ownership. They buy software before they understand the workflow. And here is the correct order that it must be designed from. 1, you gotta map the damn machine, the real path from first attention to final delivery. Not the version in your head, not the SOP that no one in your company reads, the real one, where work actually goes, where it gets stuck, where the founder gets pulled in, because you cannot fix what you have not mapped. 2, you need to find the links in the operations, where you're losing time, margin, cash, and trust. And this is where the truth starts to surface, because sales isn't the problem, the sales handoff is. The team isn't lazy. They're trapped in a bad process. You don't need more people, you need fewer broken workflows. And then 3, You have to define the standard within your company. What does good actually look like? What does finished actually mean? What happens when a payment fails? What happens when the client is unhappy? If you don't define the standard, everyone in your company invents their own, and the business is going to become inconsistent because of it. You cannot automate a process that you've never fully defined. It is literally impossible. 4, you have to assign ownership. Every stage has one owner, not the team, not we, one name. Because if everyone owns it, no one owns it. A number without an owner gets explained away. Ownership is responsibility for the outcome. It's not about activity, it's about the outcome. 5th, you have to systemize the repetition, because anything that happens over and over should not be reinvented. It should be turned into checklists, templates, and playbooks. A system is just a decision that you no longer have to remake every week. And this is where revenue per employee starts to climb, because the machine tells people what happens next instead of the founder having to jump in and tell them because he failed to build the system. 6th is automate the obvious. Don't automate confusion in your business. Automate repetition. The routing, the reminders, the follow-up, the payment recovery, the reporting. Automations shouldn't replace thinking. It should replace busy work. So your best people spend their judgment on the work that actually needs humans. And 7, install a control layer, which is the dashboard that leadership actually can trust and count on, because every number gets an owner. This is how the company stops operating from memory and starts operating from scale. So the real question here was never about revenue. The question was about how much your revenue costs you. How many people do you have? How much rework is happening in your business? How much of you does it require? And here is the difference between an amateur and an operator. The amateur hires around the problem. The operator rebuilds the process. The amateur buys more software and hopes it fixes the company, but the operator builds the machine, then uses software to actually make it faster. The amateur celebrates revenue, and the operator asks what the revenue costs to produce, because the best businesses don't run on a founder, they run on design. They don't need the founder to save the day. They build the day so it doesn't need saving. The front end creates revenue. The back end creates profit. And revenue per employee exposes whether you built a real machine or just hired enough people to keep the chaos moving. So don't chase more, build better. And understand this, what got you to where you are today is not going to get you to where you are going. The instincts that build a $3 million a year business are not the same instincts that take $1 to $40 million a year. So stop designing the company for where it sits today. Build it for where it's actually going. Because once you do that and you build towards it, everything becomes smoother. Because a company that runs on the founder is always worth less. A company with a clean system, clean ownership, and strong margins is worth way more. That's what a buyer actually pays for. That's what scale actually buys you. You can learn the way my client did, a decade of expensive mistakes and paid and margin and error the entire time, or you can borrow it from someone who's already built it over and over and compress the decade into a couple of years. The reps already exist. You pay them in time or you don't. That is the whole decision. So build your back end, protect the profit, control the machine. That is the operator's game.